2, 1.
Ready.
Just relax and enjoy the ride.
In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. 815.
No, all I'm saying this week, Tom, is we'd all get a heck of a lot more done if humans just had a natural mating season. It would change everything. I'm Greg. He's Tom. This is the 20th day of July, the year 2024, the latest it has ever been.
In the history of mankind.
You made it. Congratulations. How you doing, buddy?
Mating season? I'm completely confused. What, like 2 months or what?
I don't know. All the rest of the animal kingdom has a natural mating season, but humans, not so much. I don't understand. It's
called January 1st through December 31st. Take your time.
We've got a great show lined up for you and the person still sleeping next to you. So give him a little elbow and say, wake up. Greg and Tom are making noise.
And in 2 years, everybody's birthday would be, within a 2 month span, and that's it.
Why is everybody born in September, Mom and Dad? Well, let me tell you. Beth Howard from the Friends of the Coronado Foundation is our guest. We're going to have her up here in just a little bit. But first, we need to do this. Our big number of the week. Current race to 10 has Joanne commanding lead 4-1. We're just way out in front, just like the Rivets were over the Kalamazoo Growlers last night. They didn't have a chance, those kazoos. 15-5 was the final score last night. Way to go, Rivets.
Send them back to the zoo.
Back to the zoo. 3 billion is our big number of the week this week. And the answer is potty or poets. Give me your guess in the comments. Let me know what you think. And make up a little story about your guess. That would be awesome. 3 billion what? Potty, 3 billion poets, 3 billion something. We're going to, you get bragging rights for the week if you get the answer right.
Yeah, there you go.
Tom's like, I want bragging rights. I'm down 4-1. I need some help. Yeah, we'll have shout outs and such later. But first, we want to bring on our guest this week who, let me see if this comes up on the screen looking really nice or kind of fuzzy. That looks pretty good. Friends of the Coronado.
It looks good.
Is what this is called. And the lady that leads the charge over there is named Beth, and she's on the screen with us this morning. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How are you this fine day?
Oh, enjoying the sunshine and just wonderful temperatures after, 12 inches of rain in this area, I think.
And all the humidity and garbage. It was a perfect night for a baseball game last night. There was no humidity.
Oh, nice.
Just a light breeze. It was absolutely perfect to be outside last night. So
yeah, good thing to do.
Had a fun night last night with our friends from Rock House Kids. They were the featured not-for-profit at the Rivets game, and the Rivets showed up, and the Bats showed up, and 15-5 was the final. It was awesome.
That's fun.
Well, before we get into all things Friends of the Coronado, we'd like to get into all things Beth Howard. Tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And how did you find yourself end up in where you are today at the Coronado?
So I was born in Hickory, North Carolina. My dad was with General Motors Corporate, and that was the time when you just were transferred every 3 years. So all my siblings were all born in different places, and we eventually landed in Kansas City and stayed there quite a while. So mostly from Kansas City.
So you went to high school in Kansas City?
I went to high school in Kansas City.
What was your high school?
Johnny Mission West.
Mission West, and your mascot?
The Vikings.
The Vikings. Okay.
Vikings. Oh gosh.
I think, if I recall, Northwestern University took our theme song, or maybe it was the reverse. I don't know.
Your school song shared with Northwestern.
Yeah.
All right. The high school that my kids all went to shared their school song with University of Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
there you go.
it
There
happens.
you go. But my dad was from Rockford. He was born and raised in Rockford, and his sister. And my grandparents lived here while I was growing up. So we were in out of Rockford quite a bit. They also had renovated a small place up in Delavan. So we were up there and enjoying Delavan quite a bit while I was growing up. And so when my husband and I were married in Kansas City, and he was then working for a company that was headquartered in Rockford and had the chance to, for a large promotion. And so we had a couple of different places to move, and we chose Rockford because he was from the north side of Chicago, and it was a little bit coming home for him, but also I knew people here. I had family here still. And so we moved here in 85 and just love it. We loved it so much that my husband ended up opening his own business in the Elk Grove outside of Chicago and commuted. That's how much we loved it here.
Wow. That says something, because you're making that commute every day.
Yeah.
Running a business, because I imagine if you're running a business, you're not working 8 hours a day. That's not what you normally do when you start a business.
Yeah, I mean, it had, it was a rep agency, so he had to be all over anyway. So, but you're right. I mean, I kind of marvel at that. And we raised 2 kids here, and boy, they would tell you they just had such great experiences here that their friends probably in the suburbs probably didn't have. And it was just, when my son needed a good internship to get into a business program at the University of Illinois, there was somebody here that could help him, do that. I mean, you just felt like the community was rooting for your kids. And so it was, we just are so thrilled to have landed here and still choose to stay here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. For not, we talk a little bit about how people grow up here and then move away for a few years and then come back. Mm-hmm. Your story's a little bit of a twist there, being with that you didn't grow up here, but you still find yourself feeling at home here. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't know. It's some sort of a boomeranger. I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, it's kind of different, isn't it?
I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin, so I did not grow up here either. But once I started working here in 1990, it's like, okay, this is a place I can settle into and fall in love with a girl from Loves Park, Illinois, and now now
you're here. Yeah,
we are deeply rooted. So the Coronado Theatre, when you first moved to Rockford, is this something that you visited right away and had a love for immediately, or was it something that just kind of organically came to you later on? How did that work?
Yeah, so that's so I mentioned I had relatives in Rockford by marriage. They mostly were by marriage at that point because my dad, had left, and my aunt that was from here had married, and they were living in Chicago and outside of Detroit at certain points. But anyway, but one of my relatives by marriage was Mary Ann Smith, who led this restoration project. So when we moved here, Mary Ann very much introduced us to the Coronado because at that time, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Rockford Community Concert Series that used to be in the Coronado. It was it actually originated during the Depression across the country, these community concerts to help employ performing artists, classical artists. And Rockford had a community concert series, and Mary Ann was leading that. So I joined that organization, that board, and it was through Mary Ann's and the involvement of that organization, because we were in the Coronado doing this as it was in its worst decline. So Mary Ann's the one that just raised her hand, of course, and said, this theater needs to be saved. So it was really that affiliation that got Mary Ann involved, and then I became part of that committee during the restoration and later treasurer of the organization. So that's how I got involved. and just have been, so it's been 25 years that I've been part of the Friends. And then before that, just as part of that other organization. So a long time. I certainly have a long span of institutional knowledge here.
Okay.
For that reason and I moved into this position when the Coronado in 2012, the city who owns the Coronado, for efficiency purposes, combined us with the Metro Center at that time, and the new management that was coming in, ASM Global, to the arena, then would manage both. So the Friends organization at that time, we were running a gift shop at the Coronado. We were doing children's. We were still paying for the Reach for the Stars children's programming here. And we would provide any resources we could on institutional knowledge and that kind of thing. But when they combined the Coronado with the Metro Center, they eliminated the 501c3 that was running the Coronado. So now they asked the Friends to reactivate as the fundraising arm. And the theater is in a replacement era. I mean, it's been 20 some years since it reopened, and products are, certain things need to be replaced. And we've had terrific programming here and volumes of it, as we were talking about earlier. And so there's wear and tear, and there's things that have to be done here. So that's what we do. We help research and fund the preservation here, as well as the children's programming.
I got a feeling that most people don't know just what kind of disrepair the theater was in before that multi-million-dollar restoration project got put on, underway. It was borderline being a real problem, really, wasn't it?
Well, and it was not expanded into a performing arts center. So it was a movie palace. Mm-hmm. It was for small performances and to show movies. So the stage depth was like 25 feet. So, from the edge of the proscenium to the back wall. So yes, they were bringing in some shows in the later years, right before it was shut down and restored. But half the trucks would be left on the street. They couldn't put the full shows in here. So not only was the theater really, the roof was leaking so badly. I have pictures, if your listeners or yourselves are in here, in the new lobby where the donor wall is and things, there's that big electrical board we kept that was backstage. If you've ever seen it, it's just this huge electrical board. And it was in operation right up to the restoration. We have photos of plastic sheets over those electrical boards because the water was just leaking all over them backstage.
Oh, man.
It was, and, rodents, a lot of rodents in the basement. So at the bitter end, when the first run movie house that then owned it, that now is owned by AMC, that company, but they used to use a leaf blower to blow the popcorn into the orchestra pit.
So there's some efficiency right there.
But it meant there was a lot of popcorn in the basement.
Yeah. I believe rats like popcorn.
So, it just was at its brink. There was no question about it. And the other thing that we were talking about earlier, I did just get back from the National Conference for Historic Theaters, League of Historic American Theaters, which is where Mary Ann Smith went at the very beginning to connect with the right people to get this theater done. So, all the experts are there, both operations and restoration and renovations and all that. So, but every theater has a story where it was almost torn down. And the Coronado was almost torn down in around 83. the new owners, the original owners that built it in 27, lived here and owned the theater. The last surviving owner, and she passed away in 1969.
They had apartments in the building.
It's absolutely in the building, and that's one of the things that we carefully restored back and also curated back, because we have pictures from 1950 of that, what that apartment looked like. So, so it anyway, in 1983, the new owners were throwing up their hands. They couldn't keep up with the maintenance. So the organization that is still here that you may have heard of, and I do mention them a lot in our social media, the Land and Lincoln Theater Organ Society was here taking care of our original organ then. And a crew of volunteers maintained this theater to keep them from tearing it down, because it was all about parking decks, parking lots in the 70s and 80s, and everybody did more of it in their cities. And so this theater, had its a couple times had its fork in the road, like so many others. And so, yeah, we're lucky to have it in so many ways.
Well, this is a testament to your diligence, because had I been on the board, now I was just an immature kid. I was one of those kids that people would roll their eyes at, because, man, what a weird kid he was. I hated the theater. I went there several times to see movies, but I hated the theater because it creeped me out. 8 years old, 10 years old, it's going to creep you out. It looks kind of ornate and
you watch too many horror
and all that. So when I probably did. No, I don't like horror flicks. But anyway, you're right. I had too many things happen to me probably when I was a kid. But anyway, if I were on the board and I had to say, no, don't restore that thing, tear it down, make it a parking lot, that would have been a bad thing. I love this theater now. I was there not long ago to see Chicago. I've been there a couple of times in the last few years. It's a wonderful theater, and it is an oh my God expression every time I walk in there. It's like what they've done with it. And that's a testament to you, your staff, everybody, the entire team, all of the volunteers, and the 18 million they put into it to get this thing back up and running.
Nothing's made like this anymore. It's a gem.
No. There is, Beth, have you ever been to, oh gosh, what's it called? It's in Geneva, I believe, or St. Charles, one of the two.
I know the one you're talking about.
Oriental or whatever.
Yes.
I have not. I have not been there, but it's privately
What is
owned
it?
by a gentleman, and everybody raves about it.
Yeah, Arcada,
Yes.
Arcada Theater. And it is very, very nice, and a lot like, and by the way, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I see comedians, and I see them doing shows in theaters that look very much like the Coronado, and I'm thinking, is that the Coronado? Wait a minute, was he here? And it turns out it was not, but it looks so much like it. So it's just incredible, and everything old is new again, right?
This is, an atmospheric theater, for obvious reasons that it's mimicking you're under a sky, when you're in the auditorium. And so the kind of the father of that genre was John Eberson, and he did about 80 theaters. And he did the interior design and was the architect as well. So, but the Coronado's architect, Frederick Klein, he was from Peoria, and he did about 5 theaters. One is a nice theater, the Madison Theater in Peoria, which, by the way, they can't seem to get it restored. It's been abandoned for a while. They keep trying. But anyway, the interior person on ours was Walter Scott Bell. So I'm sharing this because he did the interior design of over 100 theaters. So you'll probably see some of that, in the other theaters. But there's only about 30 atmospheric theaters that have been restored and are still in, and the Coronado I just had a gentleman here. He lives in LA now. He's from Great Britain. His whole hobby, and he has a website, is this atmospheric theaters, which is so purely North American. And I just had him after the conference because he decided to come over right after the conference. And he said this is probably the top. You know, it really is. It's the size, quality,
It's incredible.
And you know, I sometimes I don't even show, when you go to these conferences, people have on their phone the pictures of their theaters like it's their grandkids, you know. This is mine, you know, this is mine, this is mine. And I really don't, I mean, I do if people ask, but I don't, because it's so outstanding. I always feel like you're bragging. But and the other thing that Coronado had going for it that makes it exceptional is, I told you, it was owned by the same people for so long. And so then fortunately, the Carousels company that owned it, and after that, didn't sell off things. They didn't sell off the chandeliers. They didn't cut holes and remove walls. And so when the architects came in here, there were a couple of different firms that were interviewed to do this job, one from New York and the other one from Cleveland. And it was the Cleveland architects that won this job. But they were blown away how intact it was, even though it was leaking. Carpet was, you know, mishmash of this and that. Furnishings were still here. These are all these original, wonderful furnishings. So just really lucky that the Coronado, that we have this, the shape it's in. And the other thing I guess I would share with your listeners, which is something that, you know, I didn't realize was that you know, preservation sometimes has not a negative connotation, but a connotation like tree huggers, you know, they don't want any change.
Is it really worth the effort? Come on, really?
Yeah. Is it worth saving? It's expensive to preserve something, bring it back, than just new construction maybe. But mostly, are we inflexible? Are we willing to, truth is this, you know, the key to preservation and my work is meeting modern needs. You know, this theater, it has to meet the modern needs. And so but it has to feel like when you come in that it is authentic. And so that's the challenge.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. I hadn't thought about it because I was going in a different direction, preserving it for the history of it. I love history. And it was a staple of Rockford from 1927, I believe, I think is when it was created. A staple of Rockford. My grandparents came to the theater to see movies. My mom and dad in the middle 40s would go down there with a dime, a nickel or whatever it was, and see movies. I would go there in the late 60s, early 70s with 50 cents or $1. I don't even remember what it was, but it was cheap. Not cheap at the time. I'd have to mow 2 lawns to go see a movie, but I mean, and then even my own kids. My own kids never went because it ended in 84. I wasn't even married till 86. But I mean, they've been there with us, several times since the restoration. So it's generational and it's a history. And it's well worth preserving. And like I said, as long as I was not on the board, we're good, because I didn't have that foresight. I was just creepy out. But that's why you have boards. That's why we have people like you that have the foresight and have the drive and the motivation and obviously the talent to get things done.
And
so
how many buildings are actually still doing the same thing for almost 100 years? And this one, the history hasn't stopped. So that's kind of cool too.
This is another thing. Sorry, Greg. This is another thing I love about Rockford is that we are very historically minded. We are, and some of these buildings, like for instance, the hotel downtown. What do we call it, Greg? No. The hotel that was just renovated. We were just. Yeah. Embassy Suites. I kept wanting to say Hilton Gardens because that's what was on my mind. Embassy Suites. I mean, oh my God, who would have ever thought that an old Amrock building would turn into that? I remember the Amrock building as I'm driving by with trucks and all that, and it was dirty and smelly and loud and everything. And now it's an Embassy Suites. And now we're going to do the same thing down on South Main. This is incredible. It's a really good time to live in Rockford. So, Greg, before you go on, I have one question. I don't want to miss this. Now, I was thinking when you said they were apartments, I got to thinking, Did you restore the apartments so that the entertainers could stay there overnight if they were doing 2 nights? Is that what they're for now, or are they
No,
still regular
so
apartments?
there's really, we were talking about the owner's apartment, which I forgot. I did set a picture back here for you of what it, excuse my reach. This is like the 1950 picture of that apartment.
Nice.
So it was in that architectural magazine.
Nice.
So this is what inspired us to bring it back, and we still have that parrot painting up there, and that was done by the first theater manager, Louis St. Pierre. And then there was really just one original piece of furniture in there, but we were able to locate a lot of the original furnishings, and then also just find vintage furnishings. And you'd be surprised how incredibly authentic it is. But then there were 18 apartments that were efficiency apartments in here. And those, we saved 6 of those for the dressing rooms on the 2nd floor. So when you're in there,
Okay.
We actually used to have those curated because everyone was furnished with the same furnishing. They were furnished apartments. So they had a couch and a desk and a little table, tiny little folding leaf table and a chair. And I think not much more than that. And then a little kitchenette. And then they had a Murphy bed in them. So now the management that's running it now wanted them to be a little bit more modern. So the vintage furnishings have been stored, and now there's more modern furnishings. But the Murphy bed's still there. And so we have 6 of those. So, but the rest, the 3rd floor was eliminated to create the 3rd floor lobby.
Okay. Okay.
So
But there were apartments on the 3rd floor.
Nobody can stay overnight in the Coronado now for a lot of reasons, but particularly that owner's apartment, the plumbing was all eliminated for the sake of not flooding the theater.
Let's get rid of that plumbing anymore.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people ask, I could make a fortune by, by auctioning off a night in the Coronado in our apartment.
There's this thing called Airbnb, Beth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't try that. No, you don't want to do that.
Greg gets the first night, I get the second night, and then after that, I don't care.
Let's show some love to your board of directors and people that make this Friends of the Coronado thing happen. Tell us about some of these folks that you work with, Beth.
Yeah, so there's Marianne on the top right-hand side there, and she is President Emerita. They gave her that honor that she deserved of our board, so she's on this board as long as she wishes to be. There's no term limit there, and she, of course, brings so much, not just knowledge, but she just is one of these people that kind of reminds you of what's right and, to do the right thing to do all the time. She has a great way of doing that. And then Karen Brown there in the middle, and Karen is actually with Highland Community College now, and just a very successful corporate career, and she brings really so much knowledge there and her expertise there. And then on the second row there, Armando Cardenas, if you know Armando.
Oh yes, the talented Armando Cardenas.
He is amazing talent, but also was awarded the Excalibur Award this year. And so he's so well respected and just a relentless, and he uses that word about himself. He's a relentless community champion.
Yes, he is.
And then Mark Bonney, Alderman Mark Bonney, if you know Mark, and he was also part of the Rockford Register Star during the restoration time when we were raising the money and all those projects. And he was a big advocate as part of the paper for this whole restoration project. So he's very passionate about the Coronado, having really, just like I did, we really lived the good, bad, and the ugly to get this theater done. And so we both are pretty, share that background. Jane Burden, if you don't know Jane, she's just a consummate civic-minded person, and she's on several boards, and particularly she's very devoted to the Swedish Historic Society and the Loves Park Library. Her husband's, I think, city administrator for Loves Park. And then Gary Anderson, he's
Love Gary. He's so informative. He's so deep on the buildings of Rockford. He loves our old architecture.
He does, and he's just he's really a pillar on this, right? I mean, he's just a pillar of the whole, movement here, and understanding, and even the library, he was part of that, that building. So yeah, he's the one I call. I have three people I call, him locally, and then my architects that worked on this before I start any projects here. And he's just, David Cagney too, architect David, is very passionate about helping us. So Gary hardly needs an introduction anymore. I mean, everybody knows Gary. He's so great and so generous, and we're just grateful he's with us. And then Erin Beto. So Erin helps and administrates the Brubaker Family Charitable Trust, which underwrites a lot of our children's programming, Reach for the Stars. And but they also are super generous in the community. Rockford Promise, they're very impactful on Boys and Girls Clubs. Those are no. So it's and her grandfather, Jake Brubaker, was extremely passionate about children in this community, and he's since passed. And that charitable trust continues to be very focused on this community. We're just so fortunate for this family. And then Lauren Davis, if you know Lauren Davis, she's an amazing. I met her through a contract. She does social media.
Oh, another spark plug of an individual. She
is
all of energy.
An amazing individual. She's on this board, and she's just really taught us how to communicate what we're doing and what's happening to the community. And then Jamie Hoskins, she's with WREX. She's a gem. She's been with us a long time as well, and just a ball of energy and creativity and generosity, and always has that partnership with REX for us, which has just been tremendous. And then if you know Ricardo Montoya Picasso, he is the chief of staff for Dave Vela. Okay. And so he's just, again, and Ricardo, we began a few years ago when we do some of the children's program and have introductions from the stage. He'll join us and do the introductions in Spanish. Huh. And so, and what's fun, and the mayor's with me, and then Ricardo and myself, the mayor will speak, and I'll speak, and the kids are all very polite and clapping. When Ricardo erupts in Spanish, the place just goes crazy. Even these are, mostly not Spanish speaking kids, but they think that's so much fun, So he's just so much fun to have here to really help us to understand making our outreach more accessible. How are we reaching all the communities and within our own community here? And then do you know Kimberla Lawson-Rogan?
I know author, but I don't know her very well.
Oh my gosh, she is such an amazing individual. And, she's a New York bestselling author. She's renowned across the country. And she just so generously gives her talents here on this board and on a couple other boards I'm familiar with as well. But she's just so down to earth and has her family still here. She cares so much about this community. And so she's just, it's an honor to have her. And as well, Beth Wagner Townsend. Beth, first, I met her when she came to me and she wanted a company that her family had owned. She wanted to be a sponsor in the Coronado. And she supports other organizations in the community with her passion and talent. And so she's just, it's a wonderful board. It's a wonderful board.
And now, if somebody wanted to volunteer with your organization, is there something that they could plug into? Obviously, board of directors and stuff are I imagine appointed and applied and all that sort of thing. But if someone wants to usher or give tours or be a docent or anything like that, are there occasionally openings for that?
Oh, absolutely. And we talk about board positions, and we do those positions. What usually works really well is for somebody to get to know us like through a committee, help us, with the project here or a committee or as a volunteer. And then we hear, do they have an interest in being a board member? So that's a great way to start. But anybody here that's listening or anybody that would be interested, they should contact me. What are their interests? Is it, ushering for the shows, that's not something we organize that, but we do pass along names of people that want to do that. And many of the ushers also do, work with Friends, but they are two separate volunteer organizations.
Okay. Well, before we transition here to our trivia with Tom and bring Joanne onto the screen, is there anything we did not ask you about today that you were really hoping we would, and we want to make sure we shed a light on before we move on?
Well, I think that, I guess, I would be remiss if I didn't just explain that we do rely, this organization is, the operations is completely reliant on private funding from generous donors across our community and across the country still, actually, because we talked about memories. Everybody has memories, great memories here. And so we do have our programming, our kids and like free movies and things like that. So we keep things free. This organization doesn't sell tickets to our things. And so if somebody's so inclined, we would be very, very grateful and honored to have them as a member of this organization.
I put the link to friendsofthecoronado.org in the chat. And when you go there, as you scroll down the first page, this is going to pop up for you. So you can sign up, become a VIP member, and get all the information you need to be a part of Friends of the Coronado right there. So
Thank
take
you.
advantage of that and see what else is going on around the Coronado Theater. Joanne, I'm bringing you on the screen. It looked like you're ready. So here we go, Joanne. Good morning, friend.
Good morning.
You don't look like you're in the
Morning, Joanne. How are you?
Today.
Yeah, I'm at a different location.
We'll leave it undisclosed if you wish.
You don't have to. I'm at Cobblestone Inn in Clintonville, Wisconsin.
All right. All right.
Nice.
So I'm in the breakfast area, so you will see hungry people passing by.
You're at a Boy Scout convention,
No,
right?
I'm actually here
Noticing all
for a
the patches
family
and-
reunion. Yeah, it's crazy, the patches and stuff we have up.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know if you know, which I didn't realize, the Peshtigo fire, which is near Door County, happened October 8th, 1871, and they have a bunch of patches about that. And that fire just was during the same time as the Chicago fire, and actually more people were killed during that fire.
Wow.
It destroyed more, but it's kind of because it was a little town. It isn't very well known. But I had ancestors that survived at the Peshtigo fire, so I wouldn't be here if not for their survival.
Mm-hmm.
So how did Mrs. O'Leary's cow get from Chicago to
I have
Peshtigo,
no
Wisconsin
idea.
in that short of
You're going to
time?
bring up the alien discussion again, Tom, and we know when we go there, it's a problem.
It was a very dry area, dry time, drought. And so, Peshtigo isn't that, or Wisconsin isn't that far from Illinois. We're right across the border.
They actually touch, but yeah. You mean Peshtigo.
All right. Well, Tom's got some trivia for us before we let our guest go. Beth is hopefully going to help us score. You got like 6 questions, right? So if we can get 4 or 5 out of 6, I'll be very, very happy.
I actually added a bonus question.
You might need it. We'll
7.
see. Here we
All
go.
right, you guys ready? I'm going to give you categories first. You don't have to write them down. TV cities, animals, one-hit wonders, slogans, sitcoms, and Coronado.
I got a ring.
The last one. Pressure's on you, Beth. No, I chose one that if you miss it, you're not going to go like, oh, okay. You're not going to kick yourself.
Well, it sounds like I might learn something.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I don't know if any of us other than me because I wrote it, because I saw it on the website, as a matter of fact, on the history of Coronado. Anyway, all right, here we go. When the Mary Tyler Moore Show went off the air in 1977, it left poor Lou Grant without a job. So he packed up his things and moved to California, where he got a job with a local paper in this city. Where did Lou Grant work? In fact, the question should be, what was the setting for Lou Grant, the show?
Wow.
Was it Los Angeles or San Francisco? I'll ask it again. That buys you some time. When the Mary Tyler Moore Show went off the air in 1977, it left poor Lou Grant without a job. So he packed up and moved to California, where he got a job with a local paper in this city. Was he working in Los Angeles or was he working in San Francisco?
I can't say that I remember.
Then in your head, you're supposed to imagine the Jeopardy theme.
I guess I would lean towards San Francisco because I think Los Angeles had just been too easy. I don't, but I don't remember the show. I mean, I remember the Lou Grant show, but
it went from 77 to 82, 5 years.
I kind of vaguely remember it.
I don't know. Do you ladies want to go with LA or do you think San Francisco?
I'm going to go with LA.
I think I choose LA. It's a little grittier.
We're going LA. I've been overruled.
Okay, the group says LA, and the group is correct. Los Angeles. He worked for the Los Angeles Tribune, which I believe is a fictional newspaper, obviously. So, all right. Here's an animal question. Joanne, you're up. Maybe, I don't know. All right. The fastest animal on Earth is the peregrine falcon. At what speed was he recorded? The highest speed ever. Was it 166 miles per hour or 186 miles per hour? Once again, the fastest animal on Earth is the peregrine falcon. What is the highest speed ever recorded by said bird? Is it 166 miles per hour or 186
this is kind of flip of the coin kind of question.
Right?
Flip of the coin, yep.
I can't imagine a bird flying nearly 200 miles per hour. I don't know. I'm thinking 166. Was it wind aided? I don't know. Is it a hurricane? How did it go that fast?
Wow.
Okay, so is that your answer?
166.
Yeah, why not?
Is this the same? These are the peregrine falcons we have that nest here in Rockford all the time?
Probably. I don't know if they're as fast, but yeah.
Wow.
Peregrine falcons
across the country.
Wow.
All right, 166. What do you think? Give us a point.
Okay, the answer is. Go ahead, Beth. I'm sorry.
I always look for the irony, and I guess the irony would be a 186, but I don't know.
All right, it's up to you.
I'll go,
pick one.
but the group has to vote, right? Oh, I'm going to go 186.
No. 186
right.
is the correct answer. He did it during a dive, going after a fish or something. I don't know. Isn't that something? All right, here's a one-hit wonder that all of us are old enough to get. I'm going to read you the lyrics to a song. In fact, I'm going to tell you what the song was. You have to tell me who sang the song. It's probably too easy here, especially for Greg. So Greg, let them guess first. This one-hit wonder took the disco scene by storm, climbing all the way to number one in 1976 for this mixed band out of Ohio. And the lyrics are, hey, I tried to understand this. Yeah. Hey, I thought that they were out of their minds. Hey, how could I be so foolish? How could I not see I was the one behind? Name the band. If I were to sing it the way it goes, you'd get it all.
Give us the first few bars, maybe?
Actually, what I'll do is I'll tell you it's play that funky music right now.
Whoa.
The name of the song. So, Gregors, let them guess first.
Play that funky music.
Hey, I was a funky singer. Yeah. I tried to understand this. I thought that they were out of their minds.
I can't remember the name of the group. I
can't either.
Great.
Okay, I remember now.
It was one of the most iconic songs ever. Every time, Greg, you can agree to this too. Every time
is fruit a good hint?
What's that?
Okay, good.
Fruit is a great hint. Yes.
So he knows. I have no idea.
Yeah.
All right.
So the Greg's going to get a point. It is wild cherry.
It's not a crazy apple. It's a wild cherry.
That's right. Crazy apple. Crazy apple is a good name for a group, though. All right. So the group is 2-1 here. We're good. Actually, because Beth, you got it right on the other one and they didn't. So
what was the name? So
Wild
next
cherry.
one I know it. The Wild Cherries?
Wild cherry.
No, just
That was the
wild
name of the
cherry.
group. Yeah.
Okay.
all
I've
right,
never
here we
even
go.
heard of them, although I've heard of the song.
Oh, you've heard the song a billion times. Just played it earlier today, as a matter of fact. All right, here we go. This is slogans, sort of. It's advertising is what it is. This candy company gave us the iconic song in the early 70s to promote their product. There's nothing like the face of a kid eating a chocolate bar. What company was that?
Nothing like the face.
There's nothing like the face of a kid eating a chocolate bar. Had a kid holding a chocolate bar, eating it, and he was laughing and giggling with curly hair and all that.
Oh, wow. What year was it?
Early 70s. It ran throughout the early 70s. I used to watch it during Saturday morning cartoons.
I mean, what was the most popular candy bar back in the 70s? Snickers bars, maybe?
So who made Snickers?
Before Mars owned them? I don't
Oh,
know.
Mars.
I think Mars bought them out, but who actually originated the Snickers bar? I don't know.
But Mars that sounds like a Mars campaign, not a Hershey.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I don't know. I can only think Snickers.
Hershey's bar.
So what's your guess?
They're going with Mars, I think. Is that it?
Bars.
Mars
There's
bars?
nothing like the face of a kid eating a Hershey bar.
I
Hershey.
was thinking Hershey, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, Joanne, that's why I was going to give you a chance. So, it would have been too obvious for me to say, Joanne, what did you say? But anyway.
I heard it in my head. There's nothing like a kid eating a Hershey bar.
Yeah, and I thought it was that until I researched it and it said chocolate bar. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Eating a
All right.
chocolate bar.
That's what it was. It was eating a chocolate bar, and then they showed Hershey's.
Oh, we need the baby. Could she come on the radio?
All right.
Oh,
That's our special guest.
Look at that.
We got our ringer now. Trivia.
Yes, we got a ringer. Should have been around for the Hershey bar,
She's
kid.
gonna know. This is my grandbaby, Ruby Rose.
Ruby.
Rose, I love it.
Hi,
Ruby,
baby.
Rosie the Riveter.
what
All
a
right.
cutie.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a podcast debut for Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose.
She's got a
Did
movie
you
star name.
podcast?
She's entering her first
Brett.
year of life. Her first birthday will be. All right, here we go. On the CBS hit show, The Big Bang Theory, what is Leonard's last name?
Oh, I know that one. I watch that show all the time.
Oh,
Do you?
wait.
Starts with an
Leonard,
H.
can I say it? Leonard Hofstadter.
Hofstadter.
You got it. Everyone got it. Very good.
Leonard Hofstadter.
Very good. Okay.
Okay,
Here we
I'm
go,
all right.
Beth. Drum roll, please.
Okay.
This is it's almost an unfair question unless you read it somewhere.
Okay.
Because there's no way anybody's going to remember it. Coronado Theatre question. What was the last movie shown at the Coronado Theatre in 1984 before it reopened to a packed house in 2001 after undergoing major surgery? I added that part. What was the last movie shown in 84 before it closed?
Man. So yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so shouldn't you know the answer?
1980. I'm going to say it was 80. So 1983 or 84. Wasn't that the year that was it Return of the Jedi? Like the third Star Wars movie came out?
Well,
Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. It was seasonal. It was a theme.
Seasonal.
It was a Christmas movie. So I'm guessing it probably closed
Star
in
Wars
December of
Christmas. I'm just
'84.
kidding.
So
Yeah.
the theater didn't close, but you're right. They stopped showing for first run movies in the 80s. So that's what you're saying, right? That the last.
Okay, I thought it was the last one. I thought it said before they closed, the last movie shown, but it was 84. So, and that's when they closed.
The theater
correct?
didn't close until we shut it down in '99 to renovate it. The theater was operating all the way straight till the renovation.
Oh, my
okay.
bad on
You're
that.
right.
But okay, yes.
I have heard it said, that the movies ended in the early 80s. So I think that the movies ended. You are correct.
Okay.
Ticketed movie.
Well,
Yeah,
see, look at that. This
but,
is why she's
and
here.
you're
That's
right. I
that's
probably
awesome.
have seen this, but for the life of me,
It's
I
a
don't.
Wonderful Life.
Oh,
That's a really good guess. That's
All
not
right.
it, though.
Rudolph. No?
Another good guess. Nope.
Yeah.
You ready? Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Mickey's Christmas Carol. Okay, one final one. This is for all the bonus money. This is for $25, a square to the match, and a chance to
Double or
play
nothing.
in the
There we go.
bonus round. Here we go. Here we go. All or nothing. You're putting all your chips on the
All
table
in.
on this one? All right. How many #1 Billboard Top 40 hits did the Beatles have? And before you answer, unless you know the answer, they had this amount of hits from 1964 to 1970, essentially a 7-year span. And they still, to this day, have more #1 hits than any
And they
other
competed against
artist.
themselves because they
And I will
released
give you-
songs at the same time, which is amazing to me.
Really?
There was a time when the top 6 of the top 7 songs were Beatles songs or something like that on the Billboard chart.
In April of 1964, off of their first album, I believe it was Meet the Beatles, they had all 5 top #1 through 5 songs. That went to April of 64. It was unbelievable. They all went on. Not all of them went on to be #1. I think 1 or 2 of them only made it to 2, beat out by yourself. So they could have had even more. And I'm going to tell you who's second on the list, and that's Mariah Carey. So the Beatles today still have more #1s than any other. Now, Mariah Carey, as soon as Christmas comes around, and All I Want for Christmas Is You hits #1 again, she'll be
I'm
tied.
going to say it's in the 20s. I think Mariah Carey has maybe a dozen, but I think the Beatles have like 24 or 5.
Wow.
They have one more than
my.
Mariah Carey.
Just one
That
more.
surprises me.
One
I thought
more.
it was way more. So,
I
okay.
have no idea.
I'll say
Let me just give you one more hint. How
20.
much did you say? Okay, so my hint was going to be, if you're a fan of the beer Dos Equis, you might be on the right track.
I have no idea who that even is.
20 is the answer.
Wow.
20 #1 hits. Mariah Carey has 19, and I want to say Madonna has 18.
unreal.
Wow.
Doing trivia, I'm always studying this kind of stuff, so that's a staple question.
Well,
right there.
I hope
Now
you
you
feel that you got as well as given today, Beth, that you received some education and gave some education.
Absolutely. I'm going to, yeah.
Oh, she knocked it out of the park because she taught us all what I didn't know. I went by what I saw in the thing, and I probably misread something, I'm sure. She's exactly right. It didn't close until 99. And I remember hearing that now. I remember it closed for a couple of years. I do remember that. So I was going by the last
that's
movie,
good.
and I think I assumed that it closed there. So great job, Beth. You are the overall winner. Where's my trophy? I got to give her a trophy.
Give that girl a Snoopy snow globe.
There you go.
This one glass
There you
ball right here.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
Harry Johnson.
It's plastic. It's okay. It's plastic. That was
Boom.
yeah. We're all good. See, fully
You guys
intact.
have no fun at all on this show.
No. We actually hate doing this. We all hate each other. Don't let
Reminder
that
to
get out,
everybody to
though.
go to the website, and we got it in the chat, friendsofthecoronado.org, with any other events that are coming up. I highly encourage you to go to the next free organ concert whenever that gets scheduled, because it's really fun to go and just be there when there's not huge crowds, and you can kind of just feel the power of that amazing organ. That instrument is something else.
So, Greg, I'll just leave you real quick.
It is.
Actually, we have now a way to plan out 9 free events throughout the rest of the year that we can publish.
Woo.
So tours, organ concerts, so we'll know 9 months in advance now, because the generous Rockford Symphony Orchestra is allowing us to piggyback on some of their concert days.
Awesome.
So now we're you knew our problem was we had short notice to publicize these things.
Yeah.
So that's good news for the community.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for the good news, and we'll be glad to have you back to promote future events. So we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right. Thank you. There goes Beth. All right. Well, Joanne, you're somewhere that's not the headquarters of Paws Humane Society. So, but thanks for the effort to join us today. I appreciate that so much. You got any announcements for Paws this week?
No, I don't think so. They're open today from 11 to 3 for adoption.
Okay.
And I do know we have a couple of things coming up, but not in the close near future.
Okay.
So
we'll keep people informed. We talked once a few months ago about the reading, the Pause for a Story that you used to do. Is that kind of make a comeback next year, do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not quite sure. It's kind of been, I did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And, with COVID, it kind of closed it off, and then they never really brought it back. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe with
the Rockford Rivets reading program and United Way, maybe that can all team together and bring Pause for a Story back.
Wonderful, yeah.
I don't have a bunch of shout outs this week, but I do want to make sure that I give a plug to an event that is coming up a week from tomorrow. On Sunday, the 28th, Brunch on the Dock happens in support of family counseling services from 10 a.m. to 1. And Brunch on the Dock, make plans to join them for time with family and friends along the Rock River on the dock there at Prairie Street Brewing. Delicious brunch buffet and easy listening music. And Mother Nature's been pretty good to them in recent years. So a week from this Sunday is their next event. And I put the link in the chat for you to check that out as well. As far as other shout outs this week go, I want to give a shout out to all the first responders this last week who responded so well in all that flash flooding that we had. Last weekend was just momentous, right? Our Saturday night Legally Blonde show at Starlight Theater had to be stopped before the final scene, which is actually just a wrap-up scene. The big climax to Legally Blonde is the final courtroom scene, which we got through. And then as soon as the final courtroom scene was done, there's a graduation scene that kind of wraps everything up. But we had to cut short of that because of the storms that were coming in. And that Saturday night, on my attempt to drive home, I had to turn back from the intersection of Alpine and Harrison because it was so flooded. Cars were stalled in it. Thankfully, I didn't get didn't get in my head to try to go through that water because it was really bad. So kudos to all the first responders that put us all back together again this last week. I hope your neighborhoods were not too awfully impacted by all that.
Sunday night was a repeat because as I was coming home down State Street, I turned off on Fairview. And as I was coming down Fairview, there were garbage buckets tipped on their side. Those heavy brown garbage buckets that the city has given us were tipped on its side. And I'm seeing garbage floating all over. And the water was coming up on my windshield like crazy. I was actually hydroplaning in my Jeep at one point. My Jeep's a little higher up. And I was actually hydroplaning at one point. I slid over near the curb. It's a good thing it wasn't a car. Unbelievable. And I thought, I'll be out of it very shortly. And then I got to rural. Rural was fine. But as I got down rural, it happened again. Oh, my God.
Our Sunday night show actually got canceled our closing night show got canceled because of those storms that were coming in. It was just too risky to try to put it on stage. So kudos to the Legally Blonde cast and crew and everything for putting on a lot of great shows. And it was really kind of sad that we had to cancel the last show. Kudos to the Rockford Rivets. I already talked about Rivets and Rockford Rock House Kids being their not-for-profit, featured not-for-profit at last night's game. Had a great night for a game last night. And a quick shout out to Grow Your Network and Emily and the stuff that she does once a month to connect people from all around the country and even sometimes all around the world to grow each other's businesses. Next week on the show, Jacob Westendorf from Sports Illustrated. We're going to talk some Packers and some NFL. So a lot of sports on next week's show. And
how are we going to work next week's show? Joanne does not want to be around for Joanne. You're more than welcome, but you don't want to really be around while we're talking Packer football now, do you?
She'll jump in at the end. Give us applause.
But you're kicking me off the show.
Yeah,
I don't think you heard what I said. I said, are you on board? You're more than welcome. But do you want to stick around for?
Or we could do pause first next week before we jump into all things.
That's what I'm asking, because I know Joanne has always said, you've said this, you don't really want to be on when we're talking Packer football.
No,
I'm always inviting you on.
If Joanne's ready, we'll go on first with you next week, Joanne.
Okay.
We'll flex with your schedule. So let's do this. I got to wrap up and run here. Joanne's in the lead by a score of 4-1, and our big number of the week this week is 3 billion. Is the answer potty or poets? Potty or poets? 3 billion is the big number, and Tom's giving me his answer. Joanne,
I didn't see Dan throw in an answer, but oh well.
3, 2, 1, go. What do you got?
Posts. Is it posts or poets?
Poets.
Poets.
All right. So you're going with poets?
Yes.
Tom went the other direction. The average. So someone's going to get a point this week. The average adult will spend 416 days in the bathroom. Men will spend 373 days using the bathroom, about 23 minutes a day. Women, about 456 days, which is typically about 29 minutes per day. Not necessarily really big numbers, but those were numbers that I thought were kind of interesting. Poets is the answer. Oh my gosh, Joanne, look at her running away with this. Raise to 10.
Wow.
5-1.
What is the name of the Taylor Swift album? The Tortured Poets Department. She broke her own 11-week record with her Tortured Poets Department album entering its 12th week on top of the Billboard 200 chart. The album has 3 billion streams, just shy of 5 million sales in the U.S.
Is she a billionaire by now?
I think so. I can't imagine her not being a billionaire by now. Anyway, that's going to have to wrap up our show for this week. We've already over. So much for ending early, Tom.
$1.3 billion.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
worth $1.3 billion. She could buy a football team.
And she's very philanthropic. She gives a lot of it away. So I got to.
She does. I don't care for her politics, but I love Taylor Swift. Absolutely love Taylor Swift because she believes what she says, and she's not stupid by any means. I really do like Taylor Swift.
No.
So,
well, friends, remember you change the world when you help one person. Be a blessing to someone this week. We'll try to do the same. Meet back here again next week for another In Crowd 815 podcast. Have a good one, y'all.
Packers.
Bye-bye.
Packers.
Bye-bye.
Next week.
In crowd, 815. In crowd.